My name is Jason Gamble. I'm the president and CEO of ARDA, the trade association that represents the timeshare and vacation ownership industry.
We have a number of timeshares here in Las Vegas that kind of fly under the radar when we're talking about tourism and visitation. Can you talk a little bit about how those timeshares are used and whether they're normally seen as part of the tourism sector?
The timeshare industry does usually fit nicely into an overall, I would say, hospitality sector. There are about 60 resorts total in all of Nevada, but 60% of those resorts are located in Las Vegas itself. So you've got all types of offerings, some that we consider to be not quite budget, but you would call it mid-range options, as well as very high roller type options for Las Vegas. So yeah, it doesn't get quite sometimes as much press as some of the other larger resort properties do, but it certainly plays a very important role in the entire hospitality ecosystem.
Can you tell me what the trends are with visitation and use of these timeshares?
hmm We look a lot to see what's kind of going on currently with the hospitality world and trends in Las Vegas. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on or things you read in the news. We looked at our major members and found right now, as far as occupancy rates are concerned for last month, we were right in that mid 70s as far as occupancy rates are concerned, which is good. You have everywhere from owners themselves staying, from exchangers that are coming in from different resorts, and also renters. And a lot of people don't realize that you can rent timeshare.
Has that been steady over the last 6 months, or has it been on a downward trend like we've seen with the hotel numbers?
The occupancies have been very steady. So when you get to the point in timeshare, one of the benefits of timeshare is that once people are owners, they tend to use their product year after year. That's a commitment really that somewhat really surpasses and doesn't necessarily track with all the other trends that might be today that might be really important. So really we see that there's a very consistent visitor that includes like such great destinations as Las Vegas. People do like to go back year after year for whether it's sporting events, whether it's experiences, which as I mentioned before, like F1 or concerts, many of our members and many timeshare resorts are fully bought into the experience economy. And because of that, too, it brings people there to the city and the surrounding area for all the experiences that they can have that go right along with their timeshare ownership.
The timing of this call is interesting. A giant national ad campaign was released late last week by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority with a nod to the questions about the affordability of a Las Vegas vacation.
One of the things that when somebody decides that timeshare ownership is right for them, they have their initial purchase price, and then you have a maintenance fee obligation every year. When you start looking at the way you travel once you've paid off your timeshare, like the spot where I'm in right now, I know what my maintenance fee is going to be this year. So for me, my accommodations are paid for, and I know exactly how much they're going to cost me year after year. That, as we've seen, and of course, over the last 5 years, have been great fluctuations in ADRs for hotel rooms and even the costs for short-term rentals and all of the additional fees that take place with that. For a timeshare owner, once they're traveling on that known amount, it's really easy to budget. Yeah, after that, you're talking about your entertainment, obviously food, and your transportation to get there. And with so many timeshare resorts being within drive-to locations, if you're a Southern California resident or you live there in the Mountain West, driving to Las Vegas is really easy. It's a very doable trip. So if you look as far as travel's concerned and cost of accommodations are fairly much taken care of, then you're really looking at what is your entertainment going to look like, how much you're going to spend there. And that makes it a lot easier for a timeshare owner to budget and to be able to travel on limited budgets.
Timeshares sensitive to events like F1, like Super Bowl? Do the rates change? Once you're in that contract, are you pretty much locked in to those
Yeah,
rates?
once you're locked in for the larger weeks, and for people who are in the points-based systems where they have the ability to make reservations, that reservation is going to be, it won't really be extra for them. I can say though, if they're going to want to be there for race week, you're going to have to plan ahead. That's for certain. I've already made my reservations for race week at my timeshare, and I needed to plan a few months in advance.
Jason, I can't go through a question about timeshares without asking about the contracts. And
Mhm.
I know there is a cottage industry out there for breaking those contracts. What's changed in that arena?
Yes, there has been an industry that's popped up. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there about exiting timeshares. That's why ARDA created the Timeshare Consumer Protection Center, or the TCPC.org. It's a website that's information out there for timeshare owners to be able to learn about their exit options, to be able to avoid scams. As you mentioned, there's a lot of people and there's a cottage industry out there trying to convince people that they can help or guarantee that they can cancel contracts. Really, what it comes down to is that that developer or the resort is the one who's going to have to accept contracts back. And there are a lot of programs that developers have out there for timeshare owners to be able to give their timeshares back. Again, if they find themselves in that space where timeshare ownership no longer meets their needs. So this is somewhat of a recent phenomenon. Probably the last 10 years or so is when we see more of a demand and more of a life cycle for timeshare ownership. And we believe the timeshare industry is doing a improvingly good job of making sure it meets the needs of its owners by providing fantastic resources and service. And we as a trade association are out there to provide information to those owners as well.
What's the difference in the experience between being a hotel guest and being a timeshare renter or owner? How does it differ from the point of view of a traveler?
As a traveler, when you're a timeshare owner, you really look at your ownership as a second home. With the system that you own or the resort where you go, it's a place that you may go back to year after year, or you may go to different locations year after year. Many times, people over those years have seen the same people at the same resort, right? They get to know these families, and it really becomes a family atmosphere. It just ultimately changes the way people vacation versus those that are staying in hotels where they're much more of a, I guess, a place to put your clothes and a place to sleep, where you can also have all those experiences and you can really live like a second home in your timeshare. There's a misperception that timeshare is very much I go back to the same resort, same time of the year after year. When timeshare ownership now has become very flexible, it's usually sold in denominations of points. Many, just like the hotel loyalty programs or airline programs have points that represent your ownership value. In this case, your points really make it easy to be able to have short-term stays or long-term stays or go in all different places. So really, it's become flexible for younger generation. And one thing you might not know, that Gen Z and millennials make up over half of all timeshare owners here in the United States, and they make up over two-thirds of all new purchasers of timeshare. So the product is really appealing to a younger generation, much younger than I think people realize. And that's really exciting to see as far as the overall growth and for the health of the industry long term.